Bev here. Unfortunately, I will not be live with you for this particular event. This is a weekend replay by popular demand, and we're probably going to be doing some replays next weekend as well. These are only going to be available for a couple of days after they are launched. So we know not everyone can make the exact time that they're coming out. That's totally fine. But please note that they're only going to be out for about 48 to 72 hours approximately. So you do want to make sure you have time in your schedule to catch the replays while they are available. At the same time, I'm going to say this every single one. I apologize, but I want to make sure that you make this last event. We have our keynote speaker for 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Friday, June 28th. That's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We cannot wait to see you there. It is with the woman who created FDN's business school. She is doing a very pretty penny in her business, but more importantly, she's just like one of the nicest and coolest people you will ever meet. We're also giving away 4 advanced courses just for attending live. We did something like this last year. It was so much fun. We had like 200 people on the live call. We're giving away advanced courses left and right. It's just, I love the energy. And as a host, there is nothing more fun than seeing the chat blow up with 200 plus people. So we're looking forward to seeing you then. And we hope that you enjoy this replay session. Thanks. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm going to give this a second as we see some attendees piling in today. This is great. Welcome to event number 2 in Summer Open House. And if you're like, what was event number 1? Don't worry. We'll tell you in a second if you missed it, because that is one of the only ones you will be able to get on recording. All right, I see 25 of you are already in the first minute, so this is great. If you guys have ever been on any type of webinar or event with Detective Ev, then you already know I'm going to ask, where is everyone tuning in from? I think one of the coolest things about this community is the fact that we got people in New Zealand, Australia, USA, Canada, UK. I see Vancouver. So is it Vancouver, Washington, Mary Kay, or Vancouver, Canada? Let me know. And where is everyone else tuning in from? And our wonderful panelists today, if you don't mind putting in the chat as well, I'd love to know where you guys are hanging out at. I'm in wild Bucks County, Pennsylvania. All right, we got Florida, Chicago, Illinois, Virginia, San Antonio, Texas, Austin, Texas. I was just down there, Annette, for the Hack Your Health conference. It is little warm this time of year, otherwise beautiful, though. You guys got great food. Good job knowing there are 2 in Washington. Yes, Mary Kay's in Washington. South Dakota, awesome. San Diego, Richmond, Virginia. Sweet. I was at Hack Your Health, too. Awesome, awesome. New Hampshire, Florida. All right, cool. I won't spend too much time on that today. I want to get right into the information, but thank you guys for letting us know where you're all tuning in from. This is a USA-based one today, it seems. Anyone not USA-based, let me know. All right, we got over 50 people already on UK. Hey, Yasmin. Thanks for tuning in with us. What we are doing for event number 2 in the Summer Open House, and let me actually take a step back because this might be your first time on a Summer Open House event. So we started off the month on June 1st, this past Saturday, assuming that was Saturday. Is that correct? Yes. With Dr. Tom O'Brien. And Dr. Tom O'Brien's just a brilliant guy. He's one of the reasons that people talk about gluten sensitivities and like non-celiac gluten sensitivities so much in the space. And that is the one event that is available on recording with the Summer Open House events. So I don't know if that is up quite yet. Brenda, let me know in the chat if that is the case, please. But you guys can always find that on fdntraining.com and then just go to our resources. It's somewhere under there. But you guys can always check that out. The rest of the month, you got to show up live with us. Otherwise, these will not be recorded. And we had a Summer Open House last year. We had a Summer Open House the year before. This has turned into this really cool annual event. And we're doing something a little bit different this year. A couple of things. One is we're focusing a lot more on the business side. So we're bringing you guys more business content than ever before because we've seen people love that in the past couple of years. But then there's also the saying, you don't fix what's not broken. And what's definitely not broken about Summer Open House is that people love getting the insights into FDN. That's why it was called Open House, right? Or it is called Open House because we want you to kind of, just like you'd go to a college, kind of be able to explore what we offer, what we don't offer, right? So you can make a decision as to whether or not this is something you'd like to do. And even for our graduates out there, you can consume the business content and you would get just as much as this from as people who maybe are never going to go through the course or just not considering our program. So there is something for everyone this month. And this unique event is new to this year. It's called Trainee Roundtable. So we are bringing on people who are actively training in the course with us. This means they recently paid us or are still paying us. So these are the people that if they were not happy, they would be the first to tell you probably. And we are going to ask them their opinions and experiences on the course and get to learn a little bit about them. So we will dive right into this. I will stop my share as we get moving here. I'm just going in the order that I see you guys on the screen. So just so no one's thrown off here. Stephanie, I will be going first for these questions with you. Bianca, you'll be second. Holly, you'll be third. Caitlin, fourth. And Carol, you will be fifth, just so you know. So Stephanie, first of all, welcome. Thanks for doing this with us.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, my first question for everyone, and I'll put this in the chat as well so that you guys can all rehearse. Sorry, Stephanie, thanks for being my guinea pig. I wanted to know, what were you doing before FDN? And then what made you realize the FDN course was the right decision for you personally?
Okay, so I'm a gym owner. And the demographic of my community is around my age. So I'm in my early 40s. And I found, I was in tip-top shape about 5 years ago. Things have been starting to go a little bit downhill in all areas, mainly like skin and inflammation type things, not so much from my workouts and stuff, but I'm finding a lot of my members are going through the just unexplainable changes where we get that typical answer from the doctor after we go for our blood test that everything's normal, and it's so frustrating. So I mean, I have other nutrition certificates, but I have been going. I was in search of the solutions for myself, and I love learning. So if I can get the solution to myself while learning how to help my members at the same time, I was all over it. So I went on my search for the best course I could find, and I was on the edge of purchasing many different courses until I ran into FDN, which I think what set it above the rest was basically saying, are you tired of people telling you everything's fine? And these 5 lab results that are going to help you kind of get the bigger picture of what's going on inside of you and how you can solve that. So it wasn't just the learning, it was, the background of the labs to help you kind of get to that final answer. So that's where I am. That's what sold me is
nice. I love that part there too, because
and that when you're done, you can order them yourself. You don't have to pair up with a doctor somewhere or something like that.
Yeah, it's a validating. I mean, there's a few things you said there, but one of the ones that I loved is the validating experience, right? Like, yeah, we don't take no for an answer here. You don't come into FTN with symptoms and get told, "Oh, yeah, it's all in your head." If we can't find it, we just assume we're missing something. What a concept! Hate believing the person. So, cool. Thanks, Stephanie. Bianca, same question. What were you doing before FDN, and what made you realize the FDN course was the right decision for you?
So, hi, first of all, thank you. And second of all, it's kind of a serendipitous day that today is the day that I'm on this because I literally just graduated yesterday.
Oh, nice.
So I'm really excited. And also for today it's serendipitous that I started my private practice 20 years ago today. So it's kind of like this amazing next step in my career, my profession. I've been a physical therapist. I have a doctorate in PT and also a master's in acupuncture. I've been in practice for 20 years and I'm 51. And I realized that in my early 40s, something was changing. My body was changing, my chemistry was changing. And that's when I found more nutrition-minded based health programs, as well as I changed my diet. I actually became a competitive triathlete. And my overworking as an athlete and under eating, because that's what we're taught as women to do, brought me into a lot of health problems and chronic myofascial pain, pain that I just couldn't get rid of. And my contemporaries, as well as my patients, were all kind of around this age and we're all suffering. So I thought to myself, what can I do to offer them other than a sort of body-centric approach? So I consider myself as this kind of FBI or detective of biomechanical changes. I now get to use FDN as this biochemical a health coach, if you will, and looking at someone's biochemistry. So I did it personally. Again, I do everything for me first, and then it's translated into this kind of open door to the menopausal, perimenopausal, midlife change for the overworked woman. So that's where I'm at right now. And I'm like, I launched it today on social media, and I don't even know, 15 or 20 people in my inbox already asking for more information. So I am
Nice.
so excited.
That's awesome. It's amazing when you share this stuff, people actually are interested, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm saying that from the graduate side because some people are, they get afraid to share this stuff. They don't want to go talk about health stuff with the world. And I'm like, guys, look at the stats. There's so many people dealing with this stuff. So you just got to let them know that you exist. So thank you so much. Holly, you are next. And sorry for repeating the question every time, but people are going to be doing stuff in the background while listening to this. So what were you doing before FDN? And what made you realize the FDN course was the right decision for you personally?
Okay, so prior to joining FDN, I was a marketing executive for 20 some odd years and was good at it, but never really fulfilled. But it was my job and it's what I did. And then in 2019, my youngest daughter, who was 9 at the time, got very sick, ended up in the hospital in septic shock, had a host of issues going on, and no traditional doctor could figure out what the problem was. So coming out of the hospital, she was on a handful of drugs. We were told that she had some unknown autoimmune condition, and she was going to have to be on these drugs and take these shots for the rest of her life. She was having recurring hives and very uncomfortable and unable to go to school. So I couldn't accept that. We had kind of gone down the traditional path, met with every specialist under the sun, and I knew we were missing something. So I started to explore what I would say non-traditional healing routes and did a lot of research. Ended up landing into a functional nutrition space, started taking some functional nutrition courses. So I'm also a functional nutrition counselor. And I started making some shifts in my daughter's diet and seeing her condition improve. I ended up partnering with a functional nutrition doctor and learning all about leaky gut and things that no other traditional doctor had told me about. Ran a whole bunch of functional labs through this doctor on my daughter and got to the root cause of her issue, which was gut imbalances. So after 3 months of all natural supplementation, shifting her diet, doing a lot of lifestyle work with her, I was pleased to see that my daughter was off all of the crappy medication, prescription meds, completely healed and back on track. So the light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, if I could do this with my daughter, I want to share this information and do this with a lot more people. So that started my journey back in 2019. I did the nutrition route first, and I started working as a functional nutrition counselor. Then I went back to school and became a health and wellness coach. And then I still felt like there was something missing. I had a handful of clients that I felt like there's still this missing piece, and I wanted the data that the labs can give me from FDN. And so FDN was kind of always in the back of my mind. I had looked into it initially, but it just felt like the perfect way to kind of round out the rest of my credentials and complete the suite of offerings in my practice.
Awesome. And congrats. It's like the coolest thing ever, especially just shifts your paradigm when people are told they're going to need these things long term or sometimes for their lifetime. And it's like, no, I literally don't need that anymore. It changes your outlook on a lot of things. I think it just makes you start questioning things in a healthy way, which is cool. And to be able to share that with others, they don't always accept it at first, but if they hear it enough times, then it can start changing their belief too. So thanks so much. Caitlin, you will be next, my friend. So what were you doing before FDN? And then what made you decide that this was the right course for you personally?
Well, hey everyone. So before FDN, oh my goodness. So I've been I'm embarrassed to say it on this platform, but I've been in the alcohol industry for 15 years, give or take. I don't drink either. It's literally a paycheck and a job. But it has helped fuel my passion for this industry even more the more I've learned. So my undergrad, I studied psych, went back to school, not because I love tuition bills, but I went back to school and actually completed all the prereqs for med school. And I was taking my last class as a prereq, and I got married and had a family tragedy happen, and life kind of put me on a different route. I didn't apply to med school, and started basically researching somatic work in an effort to heal myself because my nervous system had been thrown completely in a dysfunctional state. And yet traditional talk therapy wasn't solving answers, wasn't providing any resolution to my symptoms. So I heard about bottom-up approach, went to Google, and it was just down this beautiful tunnel of research ever since. But I realized the more I was learning that that was just a tip of the iceberg, right? So then I got more into figuring out how stress plays such an important role in your overall health. And I was really pleasantly surprised when I came across FDN and researching different programs, because stress was basically where the course starts out. And I love that, the fact that they acknowledge the importance of stress management and addressing it, and as well as the supplemental support, right? As well as diet and exercise and those things that otherwise generally put more on a pedestal. I was pleasantly surprised to see that stress was of equal value. And so, yeah, I actually don't suggest this, don't encourage this, but I signed up for a second certification while taking this class and working full time. But I became an integrative somatic practitioner as of December. So my goal is to combine that as well as the FDN knowledge in my business, which I created my LLC. It's called Blended Health. And the name for it is just that. It's blending the mind and the body, which again, I think conventional medicine, it feels for some reason as though they see them as separate entities, right? And detached, when we all know at this point, they're very much interconnected. So it's just really fueled this passion. And I applaud FDN and their approach and the scale in which they address everything from head to toe. I'm so happy that I came across it and grateful.
That's awesome. You brought up such a good point too, because so many people always ask, like, okay, if I'm an FDN, is it only FDN now? Like, do I need something else? So FDN's designed, guys, as something that you could come from an accounting background. You might have been an accountant your whole life, don't have any health certifications. And I'm using this example because this has actually been one of the people that I've interviewed before for our podcast. Like, they were an accountant and then got into FDN. So you can do it as a standalone, but so many people have these really interesting side passions or side hobbies that they combine into this. And that's still FDN, right? You might be a bodywork type of person. You might have, a therapist background, like something like that. So it's okay to combine these things all together and really make a unique practice for you. Carol, last but certainly not least. So what made you decide that FDN was right for you, and what were you doing before FDN?
Really excited to be here. I have been a registered nurse for the last, embarrassed to say, 40 years. I'm the oldest one on the panel here, I can already tell. But I had an opportunity. I had been a hospital administrator for 14 years. So I was on call 24/7 of a pretty large metropolitan community hospital. We had 750 beds. So it was constant, nonstop stress, stress, stress. And in 2019, when COVID started, obviously as an RN and a hospital administrator, it ramped up even more. At the same time, my husband became ill. We went on a cruise. He ended up with Guillain-Barré. It turned into rheumatoid arthritis and then polymyositis. And just seeing him as the patient going through all of those things that I, on the other side, was trying to protect and keep safe and improve quality, I could just tell there was not a good marriage of holistic health with medical health. And I really was disappointed in his care and started to do a lot of research on my own, like what could I do? At the same time, I have 3 children. 2 of my daughters came down with adult type 1 diabetes. My oldest one was 36, my youngest one was 30, and both ended up with type 1 diabetes. And then as I went through researching for my husband's illness, just hearing more of the autoimmune constantly, talking to our physicians about this, really all they wanted to do was give us a pill, give us a medication, tell us this is just kind of the way that it is. So when I had an opportunity to retire early, I grabbed the chance. And so I retired a year ago and was looking, what else can I do to help people? I believe that there's so much out there that people aren't aware of. They don't know, just like all of us have gone to doctors and they just say, oh, your labs are good, or oh, your lab is elevated, let's give you a pill. So I wanted to do something different. And I had a really great experience meeting an FDN. Her name is Catherine Carr. She's currently practicing in my town, which is St. Louis, Missouri. And I just emailed her on her website and I said, hey, I see you're an FDN. Can you give me a little information? Oh my gosh, she opened the door wide open, had me come out to her practice. And that really cinched the deal. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And the fact that I have a background in healthcare, I think this will also help me bridge that gap. So real excited to be here.
Yeah, that's a tough answer for me because it's like on one end, I'm so sorry that there's so many things going on family wise, but at the same time, it's like, holy cow, if they couldn't have a better person in their corner for them, all those years of experience with the nursing side, Western medicine, because it is important. We're not against that at FDN. You got to have that sometimes. And then adding in this very functional, very holistic model too. It's like, yeah, it's a pretty good combination. I love it. Cool.
Thanks.
All right. And so while we wait for the next question here, I just wanted to let you guys know if you are attending today, we have quite a lot of you on. You are more than welcome to submit some questions in the chat. I will say today, just because it's our first trainee roundtable, I might stick to the questions we already have prepared just to kind of, keep it on track. But I want to know what you guys want to know. And we are doing one of these every single week. So if I find a question that I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that, I can make sure to, at the very least, add it in future sessions. So Stephanie, we will go back to you, my friend. I wanted to know what has been the most surprising part of the course. And so, I mean, like, what did you get in it that you didn't expect? Many people would say Reed Davis, the founder's humor might be the most surprising part of the FTN course as you're listening to his modules. And if you know, you know. But I mean, like, something that was maybe of benefit to you that you're like, I didn't even expect to learn this. And wow, cool, this was part of the course.
Short answer is everything. Really, it's been really impressive. I've done so many courses, and I don't know, when you're looking at the pricing and you see an online course and you're expecting to just go in, click on the module, watch a pre-recorded video, and you're just like, well, couldn't they just sell this for $15 to 1 million people? Like it's already done. Like you're not getting anything other than these recorded sessions type thing. But with this, I was just like, when I logged on, I was just like, like mind blown. Because you get those modules where you can go to them and do them at your own pace and everything. But then you have your Wednesday calls, you have your Friday calls, you have a Facebook group that is the most active Facebook group I've ever seen. So like, if you have questions, you pop something in there, you have the mentor, like, and that's the other thing, you get Facebook groups where it's just people that might know the answers that are answering, but you have us all on there trying to see if we're right, like giving the answer and, practicing answering these questions that we're going to get over and over and over once this is our career. And then you have the mentor come in there and they're always answering and making sure that the answers in there are correct, So I've just been overwhelmed with that. Like it's just amazing. There's nothing you can't learn back here, even if it's not part of the course, there's people there helping you all along the way. And then the other thing is the practicals. So you often, you go through all your modules that are pre-recorded and you get a really easy test at the end, and then you get your certification. This you have, 2 months of practicals with people, which sounds overwhelming, but it gets you out of that comfort zone before you have to move on to, if you want to make it a career. So it makes it so much less scary afterwards because you've done the scary part already, you've already pretended that you're working with people and you have to do it to graduate. So it's, I feel like once you're done, you're going to feel so much more prepared and you'll actually use it. Whereas other courses I've taken, I've done the exam, you're done, you're like, I don't even know if I understand it. It was just kind of too easy. And this it's hard in a good way. I don't want to say that it's too hard, but I just feel very, very prepared.
Yeah. And just so you ladies know, obviously there might be some overlap with an answer to a question like this. That's totally fine. But Stephanie, to your point, I think that's one of the main issues that FDN always saw with other places. It's like, it's not that the education's even bad, but because the testing is not rigorous, you have these people that graduate and then they don't have the confidence to go out and help someone. You want to be tested here. You don't want to be tested with your first client who paid you money and is relying on you to help them obtain a certain result. That's too much pressure. And most people, including myself, with other courses I've taken, you kind of crumble under that and you end up not helping anyone. So it feels good to know, okay, I got tested here. I wouldn't be able to graduate if I wasn't ready, if they didn't know I wasn't ready. And then you can definitely go support others. So, Bianca, yeah, what's the most surprising part of the course, or just something that you didn't expect to have or learn?
Yeah, I think I want to piggyback on that last answer in that, I've been through a doctoral program, and this was probably more comprehensive than I've ever taken before. So I was really pleasantly surprised that this wasn't just kind of like, let's check the boxes, and now all of a sudden you now have this health certification as a functional nutritionist, which I think a lot of these online programs have. The last 2 months of going through my practicals, that gigantic written exam that was probably equal to my dissertation. It was really thought-provoking. And I find that I can honestly say that when I meet other FDNs now, it's kind of like, I got you. Like, I get you now. Right? We've been in the same situation. We really learned the skills that needed to get us to where we are right now. And I commend you for that, because you've been through that with me. I think one of the biggest thing for me was my own lab results. Honestly, like I said, I kind of came through this in my 40s thinking that I was getting myself into optimal shape. I had good energy and all these other things, but what it was like to find optimal, I think all of my habits and compensations made me feel one way. I didn't know that optimal could feel better than how I was feeling. So it kind of took this other trajectory for me. And honestly, I think what I didn't expect were all these extraneous things. And one thing I have to give a shout out to is Elizabeth, because she changed my entire perspective of learning FDN. She made it easy. Her compassion, her ability to articulate things that seemed really confusing. Her intelligence and her clarity was just spot on. And I think really the whole program itself, I even think this final exit interview is not something that you see, right? I had my interview yesterday with Reed, and the thing that he said to me at the end of the interview was like, open door. You have something to say. Here's the link. Make an appointment. Come and talk to me. And I was like, wow, he does this with everyone. Like, his integrity of the program is profound. And I think I've not yet seen that in all of these online programs. So I'm just super psyched to be here.
Yeah. Just so you guys have context, Reed is 70 years old at this point and still does these post-grad interviews, still adds to the course every single year. I really should say it's more like every single quarter. But he did the first 2,000 post-grad interviews, he calls them, by himself. So there's been 1,000 hours, because they're 30 minutes each, spent at least, now still more nowadays, but 1,000 at least just from him learning, what do we improve? What do we do better? What do we add? And you guys might not even realize this, the trainees I'm talking to. I graduated 7 years ago. Elizabeth in the Facebook group, that wasn't a thing back then. That was like something that they learned from post-grad interviews. So you didn't have Elizabeth helping out with that. You didn't have a Facebook group for this. It was just something you kind of went through on your own with the mentorship, which was great. But like, these are things that we've learned from post-grad interviews and hearing, okay, we love this. Okay, cool. Let's add it in. Now Elizabeth's like, she's more popular than Reed almost at this point. She's pretty cool. So Holly, I'll throw it to you next. What are the most surprising things about going through the course? Something that you weren't expecting to learn or have that you got?
I think, first of all, the depth of content that we receive and the depth of just the wealth of knowledge and information that in the way it was delivered. I think I was anticipating it would be more top line. Like, we'll get the general gist of things, but, within each module, we go deep. So I feel like I'm walking away. I'm about a month away from graduating, fingers crossed. But I feel like I'm walking away with a pretty extensive, confident knowledge in the different systems that we studied. And so that was a pleasant surprise for me. I also was surprised at the sense of community. Like some of the other trainees have said, that Facebook group is, bar none, it's just such an amazing place to go and feel supported, ask questions, kind of bounce ideas off of each other, as well as the mentorship. The practicals, kind of like the other two said, the practicals are no joke, and it's nothing to be scared of, because by the time you get there, you will feel well prepared if you've kind of tracked along. But other courses I've taken, didn't have that kind of way to wrap up the program. And so I think it's been amazing to have kind of applying everything that we've learned with the mentors, and then also being able to just talk with the mentors and get input from them. How do you run your practice? What works for you? Because I found that I've intentionally booked each of my practicals with a different mentor and gotten very different perspectives, all under the FDN umbrella, if you will, but all very different perspectives of how they're applying it to their practice, which has been very beneficial for me. And the last thing I would say is my test results. I was feeling fine. I thought I was in amazing shape. And I was like, wait, what? So when I got those results back, I was like, wow, I have some healing opportunities to do as well. And little things that I kind of wrote off as being perimenopausal, or it's because I'm mid-40s or whatever. There's actually some stuff going on, some healing opportunities for myself. So that's been pretty cool as well.
Sweet. Yeah, well, what's interesting about the labs is they're profoundly useful for someone who's been chronically ill with multiple diagnoses for 20 years, but they're also preventative, right? You could have someone that doesn't have any of that stuff, maybe doesn't even really have many active symptoms, and we could still see where things are going awry. And that's the true definition to me of a holistic way of looking at lab testing. Is something that can see the problem before it manifests as symptoms or a disease state, and something that can still help you even when those things do happen. So awesome answer.
Absolutely.
All right, Caitlin, back to you. What was the most surprising thing that you got or learned in the FDN course?
Well, I'm just going to echo all the ladies before me. I think the depth of the material, I mean, having done the anatomy and physics and chemistry and all that for pre-med, it was somewhat of a refresher, but I would not have expected that depth to be included in this sort of course. So that was a pleasant surprise. It just, I think, makes me applaud the scope of the material that much more that FDN puts into it. The community, the culture, the fact that there's so many mentors that are just obviously passionate about this field and eager to share their knowledge. I think it's just comforting because it makes me feel, I think, more secure in my investments in FDN, but also more eager to be a part of the AFDN after I graduate, and continuing to nurture those relationships with my previous mentors. And I think carry that into my personal practice, right? Is to kind of adopt that culture and exude that with my future clients. And yeah, the lab results, I mean, I'm just the same as I think probably everybody on this call, where you've gone to traditional, conventional doctors, you've done lab work, and they say you look normal, and you still feel ill and unhealthy. And I think I didn't even know some of these things existed until I saw them turn up on these lab tests and learned about them. And I think the refreshing validity that provided me, in that I felt heard finally and seen and supported. I think having that integrated into the course was unique and definitely separates FDN from a lot of other programs.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Carol, you are up next. What was kind of something that surprised you about the FDN course, like something that you learned that you weren't expecting to learn, maybe?
Sure. So like Bianca, I have my doctorate in nursing practice. So I've gone through a lot of school. Like Caitlin, I've tried to keep up with my education. I kept going back to school. And when I first started the FDN program, I thought, oh, this is just going to be like a repeat. Oh, no, it wasn't anything that I'd ever learned before. And what I found when I was learning is I kept applying the information that I was learning, taking it in, and then thinking back to my family members, people I know, patients I've cared for, saying, oh my God, if they had only known this before X happened to them, they could have prevented it. So I guess for me is the opportunity, those healing opportunities to prevent chronic illness that just plagues our entire nation. What can we do to prevent some of those and help people with those healing opportunities? So that's very exciting for me that there are so many options out there for patients or for clients And then I guess the other thing for me is Reed is very personable, very down to earth. He's funny. Listening to him, how he applies it, his anecdotal stories. He's entertaining as well as educational. So I think that's really important for me as well, because I see where what he's telling us can be applied almost to any situation. So it's been very eye-opening and exciting.
It reads one of a kind. That's why you could kind of see the little smirks pop up on our panelists whenever we talk about this, because it's hard to find a
Yeah.
course where it's so in depth with the knowledge, and yet there's these little things of humor that are almost like childish, and it's just the best thing ever. It helps you remember it. It's very entertaining is the word. And I see quite a few people in the chat. So you guys have some specific questions about the course. So please look out for the names like Tara, Jennifer, Lindy, and Brenda. They are helping out answering some questions. They are on our staff as well. So they're not just random people answering, just so you guys know. But specific questions for the course, we're happy to answer today. But obviously, we're not going to go around in a roundtable for the trainees on this particular live. So please feel free to ask them, and then our staff members are helping out in the chat. So thank you very much. All right, our third question here. I know this one isn't as exciting, ladies, but I wanted to ask it because it's something that comes up so much, and you guys probably remember this, for people that are considering the course. They're like, well, it's self-paced, so I don't have to show up for anything or do anything on a weekly basis. So that can be intimidating for some people, especially the less not type A people out there. They wonder, like, how can I get this done? So I'm just curious about the unique like strategies and approaches each of you had. How did you structure your learning time? Like, how many hours a week roughly were you able to put in? Because it's very different for everyone. So how did you structure the learning time, and how many hours a week on average do you think you were putting in? Oh, Stephanie first, sorry.
Yeah. I'm in a unique situation. I'm pregnant, so I'm trying to get it done before the baby's due, which I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But and because I'm self-employed, it's the 1 hour. Like, I was planning on just getting on every day for an hour whenever I just not focusing anymore. And that's changed a little bit. On the busy days, I don't log on, but there are some days that I'll do 4 hours. So I started in March, and I'm already on to my practicals. So I feel like I'm making pretty good time. So I would say I'm probably doing about 10 hours a week, which is more than the recommendation. Don't have to go that fast. And I'm structuring it in a way that I do the slides, and then I do the hot topics, and that are pre-recorded. So you can come live, or they're all recorded, so you can go back to that certain unit. So I do those back to back just to make sure I have it really solid. The hot topics really helps solidify the knowledge. And then, if I have any other questions, I come to the Friday call where you can ask anything you want. And then just, make sure that each of the phases are locked in as well as I can before I move on to the next one. And that's the other thing I do like about the course is you're kind of forced to go in order. When I started, I had suspicions of what I personally needed to work on when it comes to the modules. And it was nice to not just be able to jump to those, because I would have probably just gone to those, learned as much as I can, and then really never got back into it. Whereas now I feel like I can add this as part of my income at some point because I've taken it seriously along the way. So I do appreciate the step-by-step, not being able to jump ahead process.
Yeah, thank you. I always want to, I'll just specify this, not because you did something wrong, but because I always know how people interpret this. So just so you guys know, we've had plenty of the ladies today talk about the hot topics with Elizabeth or the trainee study hour on Fridays. These are bonus resources. They are not part of the curriculum. Like, you do not have to attend these. You don't even have to ever watch the recordings to be a graduated FDN. I actually mentioned they were not even a part of the course when I went through about 7-8 years ago now. So they are just things to help you if you need it. Someone in theory, and I'm sure some people still do, will go through the course without ever using them. I would not imagine why you wouldn't want to use them. That seems crazy to me, considering they're there now. You get to meet people, so it's cool, but just wanted to specify that. Bianca, how did it look for you? How many hours roughly have you spent? I mean, you just graduated, right? So how many hours a week were you spending on the course, and how did you structure that time?
So I would say I have a full-time private practice. So I had to find times in my day. So I woke up at 6 a.m. I probably listened for an hour or two,
Mhm.
went to work, treated patients, came home, and kind of got back on. So I would say probably 8 to 10 hours a week, I would think. I happen to be an auditory and a kinesthetic learner. So I listen, I printed out all the slides, put them in like really pretty binders, and this way I could write. So there's my kinesthetic learning. As I moved into the last phase of the practicals and the clinicals, I really dove deep into Elizabeth's hot topics to reinforce that information. I followed every single question in those practicals, wrote them out, and spent a lot of time doing that. And because I'm so active, any chance I got, whether it was mountain biking or, going on a walk or going on a run, I was listening to FDN. So I probably say I finished the whole course in about 8 months. But I was living, breathing, sleeping FDN. But that's how I learned. So I really wanted to know the information in my core. And I was also having conversations about compensatory issues and lab works with my current clients and my family, and it was always a part of the conversation. So I feel like my life was just revolving around FDN, and that's just how I learned. So it made it part of who I am, and how I'm moving forward in my professional career.
Awesome. Great. I love the dedication. It's sometimes hard to start that stuff early in the morning like that. But you got to do it. You got to do sometimes,
At the
especially if we have
time.
other stuff going on.
Yeah.
Cool. Holly, how many hours a week roughly were you spending, or are you spending, I should say? And what did that structure of that time look like for you?
Okay, so complete opposite of Bianca. I was very much less structured, and not by design, but I also was running a full-time private practice and I have two girls, so I'm a full-time mama. So I was finding it hard to slot things in. So I definitely did the course. It took me longer. It's taking me longer to do the course than I initially thought. I will wrap up. It'll be about 16 months. So I kind of hit the gate, came out of the gate running strong, and time blocked some time when I could do the modules each week. But then, life got in the way. And then in the middle of my training, we had sort of a personal family emergency. So there was about 3 months where I wasn't doing any FDN because I was focused on taking care of the personal issues. So then when I jumped back into it, I had to dust off the cobwebs. I had to go back and watch like the hot topics with Elizabeth to kind of refresh and get my foundation going again, because I felt like I had lost some of the momentum. So what I would say to anybody who's, considering the program, or when you get started, if you find that you're not moving as fast as you would like, give yourself some grace. There's flexibility in the program to kind of make up time where you need it and pace yourself the way you need to. And also all of the resources are available for you to kind of go back and rewatch, kind of refresh as needed. So now that I'm in the home stretch, I'm very much more regimented. So I'm time blocking every day just to make sure I can get through my last two practicals on time.
Cool. Caitlin, what's it looked like for you time-wise and structure-wise?
Yeah, so I have a full-time job, but I am blessed in that there is flexibility. So honestly, some weeks to be a few hours, some weeks to be 15 or 20 hours. It really just depends. I have an almost 2-year-old and an almost 5-year-old. So kind of it's challenging on weekends to find time. If that little one's napping, 2 hours right there. Right. I mean, you've got to really just find those little pockets of study time the best you can. I try to do an hour or so before work in the morning. And then last night I was up till about 9:30, 10 o'clock working on my written exam. So I think you just have to be flexible with yourself, but also hold yourself accountable to making sure you are creating time daily, but at least weekly, to make sure you are still moving forward. This month will be the year mark for me in the course, and I am stubborn and determined to get done on time, but I still have to finish my practical and my practical 3 and my written on time. So yeah, I think just making sure that you are kind of having a timeline in mind. As was mentioned before, the hot topics have been hugely beneficial for me, and I think I know I've seen this on Facebook posts, but people said, well, after I finish the modules, should I go back and start and like re-listen to them again just to make sure everything's like really ingrained before I start practicals? To each his own. I know you're shaking your head. To each his own. I thought about doing that. And then I was just like, no, let me just try out these practicals and see how they're being approached. Hands down, glad I did not go back. It forces you to go back. All the practicals, all the client reviews, you're forced to go back and look up stuff just like you are on the written. So my personal suggestion would be just move forward with the course as it's brilliantly designed, and you will feel competent by the end.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Carol, to you, how many hours a week roughly are you putting into the course? And then how do you structure that?
Well, I'm probably the luckiest one in the group. I'm not working right now. Very, very fortunate. But it's still hard to manage that time. I'm a procrastinator at times. So, I know it can be there and I have to consciously think about it. But I can tell you the last several weeks, once I got past probably module 4 and 5, it's exciting. I want to study it. I want to read about it. And like several others, I listen to it when I go on a walk. I listen to it when I ride my bike. I do things that I constantly have it going in the background. I think that really helps a lot. I am a little overwhelmed. I got into module 8 about the diet, which was great, and then right into 9, and I'm like, wow, there is so much material, but it just builds on one another. So it's even though you might be a little overwhelmed, you're like, oh yeah, I heard that already. Oh yeah, he said that once before. So I think it is the way that it's being taught is it's building on each other, and it will make it in the end, like Caitlin said, don't stress about one specific thing. Take it all in, and then as you go along, use your resources, which could be your journals, your slides, your hot topics, the study hour, whatever those are the mentors and the Facebook group. So there's so many resources out there.
Cool. Real quick before we get into the next question here, which will probably end up being the second to last, I wanted to address, because there's certain questions that are probably for everyone. So a couple people had asked, do the resources and videos from FDN that I'm paying for, do they last forever? FDN is very unique in this. Not only do you have permanent access to the videos, so long as you're an FDN in good standing, which means just don't go do crazy stuff, which no FDN, I think maybe only one in 14 years has ever done crazy stuff. So as long as you're doing what we're training, you're an FDN in good standing. And then as we talked about in the chat, there is a $99 USD renewal fee every 2 years. And so you'll have permanent access to all the videos and the updates to the course, which is probably the coolest part. So when I went through this 7-8 years ago, yes, it was a different price than it is nowadays because there was way less content, and I actually still get those updates. So that is a really cool part about it. And then people have asked a lot about, is there support on the graduate side? There's tons of support. So basically with the trainee group, how you have the course mentors, the graduate group, you have clinical advisors. There's multiple calls weekly that we do, both business trainings and very advanced health trainings. We have people come in from different companies and teach. So there's so much that goes on there. And we give you all the archived content that's ever been done in the graduate group. So what's nuts is I think in the FDN course, there's around 150 hours of content. In the graduates group, there's over 800 hours of archived content and counting, because again, we do multiple hours each week. So you will have access to all of that, just so you guys know. Wanted to address that real quick. Okay. What we're doing for this question, and even for the last question, is I did course enrollment for FDN for many years. And so that's like it's kind of an information customer support role, but it's also the sales team role, right? It's the people that are helping facilitate sales for the course. And one of the philosophies we have here is you don't sell something to someone that they don't need or they aren't a good fit for. That's what you do. That doesn't make you a salesperson. That makes you a liar if you do that, right? So one of my best practices is just being transparent. Obviously, FDN is an amazing course. You've heard some great answers today. It's not going to be perfect for everyone. So if you guys are considering going through the FDN course this month, I want you to be able to do it with confidence. I want you to be able to say, this is for me. This is something I want to do. And I haven't even gotten to mention, I don't think on this call, we have $1,000 off the course the entire month of June. You don't need any special discounts. discounts. There's no codes. Or sorry, you don't need any special codes is what I meant. Not the, obviously you need a discount, but that discount is automatically applied on the website all month long. That's good till the very end of the month. So Stephanie, a question I want to ask you just for the sake of transparency is, who would you say might not be a good fit for the FDN course? And the way I always answer this, just to give you an example, so I don't put you too much on the spot here, is I always say, if you're looking for like motivational coaching or interviewing skills, there are other courses that serve that. We even have an advanced course that someone could take that serves that. But I don't think FDN in and of itself teaches like traditional health coaching. I think we're like more of a consultation type place that's diving very deep into the science and technical skills. So I would say if you're looking for that, that might not be best suited for us. So what would your answer for that be? Who might not be a good fit for the FDN course?
It's a tough one because like I feel like if it's just for yourself, you're going to learn a lot. If you want to teach it, you're going to learn a lot. But I would say for someone who wants to get results while taking shortcuts, let's say, like, I mean, you have to do all 5 labs so that you learn one thing and you see a sign, but you want to correlate it with a different one. So if you're wanting to just do one lab and then and make a guess off that, then you may as well just keep going to your doctor. So that was one main thing that I know that anyone I work with is going to have to do all 5 or I'm not working with them, that kind of thing. Or maybe if you're looking for social media help or something like that, there are courses that FDN provides that will help you with your business like afterwards. But that's probably the only thing I've noticed that isn't included already. Like everything else, you'll feel completely prepared to use in any way, whether it's for you or a client. But to teach you how to do Facebook ads, it's not going to be there.
Fair enough. And you're right. We do have a separate business school, and we'll actually be talking about that in one of our summer open house events. That's not for everyone. It's an optional add-on. And some people that already have, 20 clients from something else they do, they might not need something like that. But thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Bianca, I'll throw it to you next, obviously. What's something that you would, or what type of person would you say might not be a good fit for FDN?
For someone who's unmotivated. Honestly, I mean, just point blank, I think it really depends on your intention of coming into the program. If you're doing it for yourself, you really need to commit to yourself to make these changes. And, I've been in the healthcare space for 20 years and I've been suggesting different things to different patients. And if they're unmotivated or unwilling to make these behavioral changes or as a physical therapist, do specific exercises, their issues are not going to go away. So I really feel that as a trainee, you have to stay the course. You have to stay motivated. I think if you're looking to it for self-care, you have to do the work. And if you don't do the work, you're not going to get the results. Period. End of story. That's everything in life. So I feel like for somebody who's coming into the program who thinks it's going to be kind of like an easy health coaching certification, note to self, it's not easy. It was not an easy program, and it's not supposed to be easy because, again, going back to the validity of the entire course, the integrity of it, they want us to graduate with the knowledge at a high bar. And I believe that that's the integrity of this whole program. You're not just getting a piece of paper to go become a health coach. And I'm going to get kicked off of our trainee group probably in the next day or two. But I did have to say my goodbye yesterday, and I happened to watch one of the greatest movies this weekend, Field of Dreams, that I've probably watched 100 times. And there, one of the through lines that I wrote yesterday in my goodbye post was, go the distance. Go the distance for yourself, because that's what creates this optimal you. And if you want to use this in the business coaching side, it's also going the distance for your clients. And that has this whole concept of really being able to show up for the people that want to work with you. And again, have the integrity and have the ability to just keep going that extra mile. And I think if you don't have that spark, if you don't have that drive and to make those choices and changes, you might be asked to do something that you don't necessarily want to do. I didn't want to give up gluten. I'm Italian. I love pasta. I like all the good stuff, right? But I thought, you know what, with my R&R and my digestive issues, oh man, when I had my R&R with Nicole, she's like, you got to give up gluten. And I was like, no way. I gave it up and wow, my life changed. So, the resistance and rigidity will never facilitate change. And I think that's the biggest part of this FDN program. So
Thanks, Bianca. And I'm so sorry for your loss with gluten.
I know. I actually learned how to cook as a gluten-free, and it's just even
It's still good. Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
good. I make bagels now that are gluten-free.
Yes. All right, Holly, you are up next. What's a type of person, or maybe if someone's looking for a specific thing, they would not be a good fit for the FDN course?
So I think if you are looking for like a deep dive on nutrition, I had a nutrition background. You're not going to get that here. You're going to get a foundation of nutrition, but that is not something that this program is intended to teach you about. And then the second thing, kind of more philosophically, I think you have to be open to this idea of holistic healing. And so if you are coming into this program looking for a specific, whether it's for you personally or for your clients, a diagnosis, I want to diagnose something, I want to treat something, that is not what we do as FDNs. If you're a licensed practitioner, that might fall within your scope, but what we are really doing is kind of looking for these opportunities to help people heal and coach up their health. And so you have to be open to that mindset in order to go into that program, because that's how we are applying that lab data. It's not to go in and tell somebody that they have a specific disease or a specific issue going on. It's more about the overall healing opportunity.
Thank you for pointing that out, because you're right. We definitely focus on like macronutrients, but if you want to know what vitamin A does specifically with this biochemical process, that's not something that we teach here. We're not against it, but you're absolutely right. So thank you, because that can come up a lot. Caitlin, all right, you're next. What's the type of person that you would say would not be a good fit for FDN?
I'm gonna echo Bianca on this one. I think she had said if you're not motivated. We talked about it on the previous question, the time commitment that this involves. It actually made me think about our onboarding question that we asked clients, which is on a scale from 1 to 10, how invested are you in your health and in getting healthy? And if it's not really a 9 or a 10, we as the FDN should really question whether or not we want to work with them, because we want them to be invested to get the results that they and us want them to experience. So before investing in this course, because it is not inexpensive and it is not quick, so it's a financial and a time commitment, that ask yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, how committed am I to gaining this knowledge, to putting in the time and the effort that this requires? Because like somebody else mentioned, what you have to know your why. Are you doing this to help yourself improve? Are you doing this to help a family member? If that's it, then great. It's very beneficial. But if you're doing it to essentially pay it forward and have this knowledge to share with others and help them heal, you have to keep that and you remind that and let that be your just driving force. And I think like Bianca said also, which I love Field of Dreams too, grew up watching it, absolutely love Kevin Costner. You really have to go the distance. It's not one of those things that you can get halfway through and just say, oh, well, this isn't really what I was hoping, and just stop. You owe it to yourself. And to end on that, I think a lot of the reason why so many of us have reached a point in our health where it has plummeted and become dysfunctional is because we haven't necessarily put ourselves first. This course is an opportunity for you to do that. It's to make yourself a priority, which I think a lot of us are not used to doing, and actually say, I deserve this knowledge and I deserve the power that this knowledge will give me to help shape my life and hopefully others.
Thanks, Caitlin. Guys, the last question will be a rapid fire one, so stick with us for just a few minutes after. Carol, for this second to last question still, who would you say might not be a good fit for the FDN course?
I would say everything's already been said that I would say. I mean, you have to be true to yourself. You have to know that I want to do this because it's important to me and be motivated. So ditto to everybody.
Okay. All right. My team always thinks I'm ridiculous for this stuff, but again, I'm big on just being honest, transparent. I think that's the way that you do anything in life. I think that's a good thing to lead with, and you can always learn something from that at the very least. So not only did we not prep the panelists today for this specific question, we didn't prep you guys for anything. So by the way, you're all very good on camera. I'd love to have every single one of you on the podcast one day. Bianca, I know you're freshly graduated, so we actually can have you on. But with that said, The course is normally $9,000, right? And that's without the business school. So this entire month, it's $8,000 instead, because it's $1,000 a month for the entire month of June. One of the things that we talk about as a team constantly is, if we're going to take 9,000 from someone, we want to make sure that the value that was delivered there is exponentially greater than that, right? Hey, you can go take clients and you can make this back, or the value that you got for yourself and your family is way higher than that. That's what we're striving to do. So, Stephanie, you're up first. The question I have for you is, you invested almost $9,000 into this course, give or take, depending on payment plans or whatever. I don't know what anyone's doing here. We strive to provide significantly more value, like I said. Do you believe we delivered on that promise?
Absolutely. And I'm Canadian. So,
okay. So we really, we got an extra deliver for you.
Yeah. So, and I'm the cheapest person on the planet. So I came in with, I was glad that the labs were included, because I had so many health issues. So that was kind of what put me, like, I wanted to get the labs anyway. So I'm already this much in if I was working with an FDN. So I justified it that way, and blown away when I opened the program. I would do it time and time again.
Awesome. Bianca, did we deliver on the promise to get you more than we charged you?
Ditto, ditto, ditto. Yes. The labs alone, just going through my own R&R was worth more than that. So
nice.
Beyond.
Wow.
Beyond.
Holly, same thing.
Yeah, same answer. Absolutely worth it. I would say take advantage of the $1,000 off. I did when I was signing up. There was a promotion going on, but even if there wasn't, I would say it was worth every single penny.
Caitlin?
Same. I took advantage of the promotion, and I actually got the business school at the same time.
Oh, nice.
So I went ahead and signed up, because obviously need help in that realm. And in my head, I was like, I'll just save that $1,000 for advanced courses after I graduate.
And you didn't have enough things that you were already doing during the course. So you're like, I better plan to have my next thing ready.
Absolutely.
Carol, my friend, what do you think? Was it worth it?
I would say just the ability to come into this and be with this group of people is well worth all of the money spent. But think about, you would spend this in copays if you're not healthy. And so if you're going to invest in yourself, you will be saving money in the long run.
Coming from the nurse herself. All right, awesome.
Great point.
Ladies, thank you so much for being a part of this today. Again, I don't know if you can't see how many people are on, or you guys are just all really good at this. You did an excellent job. I cannot wait to do podcasts with you guys one day. So just so you guys know, as attendees, we are just getting started this month. We have a lot of two-a-days, and by we, I mean me, with the different people that we're doing this with. So I'm very excited, but it's going to be a lot. Tomorrow, we will be back on focusing more on the business side tomorrow. So we have a 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time with Haley Rowe, and her talk's titled The Business Equation to Double Your Sales and Stand Out Sales Confidence. So what that will be about is, if you're already some type of coach, you're going to learn a lot, or if you're considering becoming one, this is definitely stuff to get down beforehand. Haley's awesome. And then we'll be talking to Jen Maleka as well. Jen is someone who's been doing this for over 10 years. She's one of our most successful FDNs, and Jen Maleka is actually the reason that I got in over 7-8 years ago now. I saw her giving a talk at a local coffee shop, and she will be at 3 o'clock EST. So we are looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Ladies, again, thank you so much for being a part of our first trainee roundtable. I think this was, I mean, you never know until it happens, but I'm like, okay, this was a really smart event to run for the entire month. You guys have been great.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this replay. If you want to know when the other replays will be, check out this link below. It's probably good to have in general because it will help you with the upcoming week. It's fdntraining.com/SOH calendar, like summer open house, fdntraining.com/SOH calendar. Please do not forget our 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time keynote speech on June 28th, that Friday, or this Friday, upcoming, I guess, at this point. It is going to be awesome. If you have any questions that you need help with in the immediate moment, I shouldn't say immediate because our team will kill me, but you can get answers very quickly by reaching out directly at fdninfo@afdnp.com. And perhaps even a faster way would be to follow us on Instagram at FDN Training. Shoot us a direct message there. We do have real humans that answer. They're not chatbots. If you ever dropped a word in one of our lives, then it's a chatbot, but otherwise it is not a chatbot. We are actually conversing directly with you. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the live sessions this upcoming week, and I hope that you are enjoying the replays. Thanks so much.